Greetings to all. This is Abhivardhan from India, and we have a very interesting episode of Indus Think right away. So we have the band called Go A from Ukraine. Uh, I'm kind of a fan of theirs, of course, but the reason we have this special 13th episode of Indus Think in this first season is that they are one of the unique bands in the world which actually has done something great in alternative rock, starting, of course, from their 2021 single Shum. But yes, of course, this interview is more about discussing the music behind their albums and the cultural context and how they have come so far. So I welcome the members of Go A. I'd like to welcome Katerina Pavlenko and Taras Shevchenko from Ukraine. Welcome, guys. And I also would like to welcome Alina. She represents the team in a PR and other activities. So as we begin, I'd like to give a context to the viewers as to why we are having this talk at the first place. So, Indus Thing generally discusses Indic issues from policy to governance and other things. We, of course, have discussed, language-related aspects and, of course, related to art. The reason I wish to invite the band was that this discussion will be more about, as one of the bands, I would say, in Eastern Europe who have come up with folk songs and, kind of mix them, contextualize the cyberpunk and other alternative themes. And that is something which is quite uniquely amazing. So, yes. And also, yes, there was one request that, yes, there are some fans from India and the Indo Pacific who wish to really have this interview. So, here we begin this session, and I'm really delighted that as a fan and as a host, we're having this. So I will be putting up open questions for both the teammates, and anyone can start. It's up to them. And here we go. So a very basic question is that. So this is a question to both of you, Kate and Taris. That uh, please elaborate about your cultural inspiration behind the band and how the team sets the tune in and cooperate for producing such wonderful songs and delivering some intriguing performance in concerts. Do you have any future collaborations in mind across the world or in Europe to start with? Yeah. So, Taris, you can begin. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So, first of all, about our cultural inspiration. We have the Ukrainian folk music at the core of our band's music, and almost everything we do is connected to that. So we are trying to we try to combine our ancient music and beliefs and rituals of our ancestors with modern vibes, modern music. So we just try to see and to show other people how Ukrainian folk music and Ukrainian culture can sound in the 21st century. So something about this. There is no like magical formula for making music in our band or something. So we just try to do something and see what happens next. So sometimes Kate brings some folk vibes, and I wrap it into electronic things. Sometimes it's vice versa. But all the same, we're first of all we're driven by emotions and energy. I think for us is the main thing that we should include in our music, because the music is pure emotions, and I mean, nobody wants to hear that exact beat or something. They want to feel emotions of the songs of the music. So I think that's the main thing about how we create our tunes.
Yeah, sometimes our work begins with an idea that appears in my hand and our head, and sometimes it happens very unexpectedly. So it is important to quickly mobilize and make it into music before I burn out and lose the idea. But sometimes it takes more than a month to write a song. Last year, I had to go to a remote village and cut off any contact with the world to finish the song. Usually, there are three processes that happen in my head at once. It's lyrics, music, and visualization. And about collaboration, we in the process of planning a few with Eurovision artists, but currently we are still figuring out how all this can be done online, since we live in different countries, and it's very hard.
Yeah, and regarding collaborations, of course, the music is one part of the collaboration, but there are lots of, paperwork and stuff and so on. So, and you need to do all of this. So it's like it's an interesting process, but still, it's a long process.
Really interesting to know. I think it's a very good start, I must say. So I really appreciate the achievement of the songs because as you said, music is, music corresponds to emotions. Uh, these songs, when even I have heard, they intuitively connect and create a sense of that tribal happiness and joy. I've seen in many of your concerts wherever you have posted some videos and Insta stories or Insta reels, let's say, I've seen that people connect very directly to the very same sense. So I would say that even in Eurovision 2021 and the past concerts, the reaction has been quite enthralling at a collective level, as if there is a sense of joy and that there's also a sense of, I would say, collective unison, that you are there, that connects you in a natural sense. That has been the aspect of, I think, interestingly, the ancient traditions, and we even see that in other cultures relatively. So how do you see the excitement of the audience? You have done a lot of concerts. I remember that recently, due to maybe there's going to be lockdown very soon in Eastern Europe, maybe in Ukraine, I've heard. I remember that you posted on Instagram. So uh, how has been your experience in the concert, and what kind of experience have you got from the excitement of the audience and the way they have embraced you? So Kate, you can begin, then Paris can follow.
Maybe Taras.
Okay, okay, let it be me. Uh,
I have no idea.
so, I mean, first of all, about the excitement of the audience, I think so they can feel our emotions that we try to show them while performing, our energy and emotions. And I think also it's very important that we are very, very honest about our music. So we believe in what we do, and we're very honest when we're writing and performing our songs, and I believe the audience can sense that. So for us it's very important not just to write songs that represent our vision of Ukrainian folklore, but also to make those songs in a way that would resonate with with other people's feelings. The thing is, nowadays there are no strict borders between different musical styles, like it was like 20 or 30 years ago. So I mean, you don't need a over distorted guitar to sound heavy, or you can play synthesizers and still sound live and emotional. And it gives us a lot of uh, a lot of things to do with everything, so we can put our emotions in all our music, and we try to do it in a ways for the people to sense it. So, and of course, one thing is to hear it on recording, and absolutely different thing is to hear it live, because there were lots of situations when people came to us after concerts, and they said like, so they heard us on Spotify, on YouTube, but our performance was a completely different thing, much more emotional and energetic and so on. So I think our live performances is like our thing, and we do it mainly to you know we try to inspire our audience to do more, more good things in their lives, if it's possible, of course. And when you're on stage, there's this circle of energy going, so we give the audience our energy through our music, and they transform this energy and give it all back to us, and it multiplies and multiplies and multiplies, and it's great. So something like this.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, Kate, would you like to add?
I think I've said that.
No issues, no issues with that. Perfectly fine. Yeah, perfectly okay, perfectly okay. But I must say that the way you explain the excitement, that is really beautiful. It seems more like a poem to me. So I
Oh,
really liked it. a simple poem, I must say. So now I have a specific question which is related to your recent single, and this is related to the song Shrum. Now, uh, the song itself has many cultural indicators. I have seen your rehearsal performances in Eurovision as well, and also the semi-final and the grand final and all of these performances. Uh, what I've seen is that there are many cultural indicators and many ethnic motifs. For example, the wording itself, when the wording itself has some Indo-European lingual roots. They are related to Indo-European languages. Then there is a reference of a sun in the background. uh, you also show nuclear fission and fusion in sometimes, the sun bursting out and so forth. Then you have fused those ancient aspects, because if we know this, it's a common thing in Eastern Europe that, in Romania or Lithuania and even Ukraine, the four cultures, celebrate the arrival of the spring. That is the thing which I realized, and that was much relatable to even the cultures in India, Japan, and Asian countries, because even when spring comes, we have different kinds of festivals, and the way we express that the tribal affinity and that thing that, we are connected and so forth, that excitement, you beautifully showed that, and you mixed the cyberpunk element into it. So it shows that your songs reflect the folk culture of praying for the coming of spring. I see much of the chemistry of the song's cultural aspects related to joy, humility, love of nature, and affinity with the folk. So, um, what do you think of it? So, Taras, you can begin, or Kate, you can begin. Up to you.
The background of our work is always related to folklore. The more I delve into it, the more I realize that it is much more than songs and lyrics. Shum is an ancient rite that was aimed to the collective call of spring, which symbols and awakening of all living things. Our ancestors were very careful about the world around them and realized that they are part of natural processes. They understood that there are light and dark forces in the world, so they tried to establish contact with them in order to coexist in harmony. Personally, I have always been interested in learning more about the culture of India and Japan and the culture of the East, because the culture of this geographical region can tell a lot about our world and agrees us to think about our existence in the earth. The subject of spiritual development is very dear to me, and I found a lot of answers on my question in there. So,
Okay.
Great.
I think, well, first of all, you've talked about the solar symbol, and I think solar symbol is represented in many religions and beliefs of our ancestors all over the world.
yeah.
And first of all, I think it means the solar symbol means life, the beginning of life. But in our context, I mean, in the combination of ancient things becoming modern, the sun also represents the energy, and energy is not either good or bad. It's the way we use it makes it good or bad. So of course it's again it represents life and energy, but it's uh, it's critical what we do about it, with what we all like people do about it, and how we use it. So, and I think that's the other thing we wanted to show, that almost everything depends on us. So there are some forces we can we cannot control, but many things depend on us, and we should do something about it.
I really appreciate this. Of course, this connection really mesmerized me, and I was much interested to ask about it. So, even your past songs, songs in the past which I've heard, they have been interesting, especially the 2016 album songs. I think it is Idina's book, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So they even have some sort of soulful attraction to let anyone chime in the process of the song, right? As if the song is chewing around and the notes are creating a space, the enthusiasm gives a sense of connectivity. I find that, uh, in that particular album as well. So when I see that and I compare it with Shum also, I relate the the very collective connect which you're trying to present. So on that, uh, what do you think? And since the 2021 song has released, and we know that it has now come up with the in the top 50 chart already on Spotify and Apple Music, if I'm right, already in the world. I think since June it was, since June and July it was. So, what do you think of the 2021 album which you published? Of course, pre and post Eurovision, and how much your experience has been as a matter of how much better you have done and so forth. So,
First of all, I want to say that Ukrainian folk songs mostly were made for singing in groups. The more people, the better. Yeah. So and they were made in a way so that anybody could sing along with them. I mean, so when we're using that emotions in our songs, it's for me it's not surprising when people try to sing along with us, because that was the idea, I mean. After Eurovision we had like a tour in Europe, and while touring we that was actually a surprise for me. I saw many people singing along with to our songs, despite they didn't know the language. I think, and I'm not talking only about Shum, which was a song for Eurovision. I'm talking about also the old songs. I think so. People sometimes people don't need to understand the lyrics to understand what song is about, and they just want to to become a part of this one big you know family or something, to sing along with us and for us to sing along with them and create that feeling of unity. Yeah, and I think the same thing was on our songs from the first album, and since that, of course, there were some changes in the band and in ourselves. So I believe we have improved as people and as musicians. I believe that. Yeah, and of course that affected the way we make music, the way we perform on stage. So I think the main experience that we got from since 2016, when we released our first album, was like changes in ourselves. So the main thing that's changed was us.
great. So, yeah, Kate, would you like to add?
Uh, if it's not a problem, Teres speak about this because my English not very perfect. It's so hard to me speak about this.
Well, actually, I think sometimes I can say for both of us, because we've come all this way from the beginning. I mean, me and Kate. So, and of course, if we did this, so that means we share some of our thoughts about everything and some ideas. What are we doing this for, and so on. So sometimes,
Sure, sure.
sometimes Kate
I
speaks for me. Sometimes I speak for Kate.
No problem. No problem with that. I completely understand. I can of course say that. I mean, even we, whenever we try to do discussions in other languages, even our own, we see that disparity. Okay, fine. If people are discussing in that language, that of course comes in, and it's not a problem. It's perfectly okay. In fact, I believe people should know more about Indo-European language, especially Eastern European. So I really find that amazing. So uh, now, my question is, since you discussed about that you there was a much individual change and the cohesive aspect, um, one thing is that when the Cold War ended, Eastern European music just boomed in a very interesting way. We see many Eastern European artists, to an extent Russian artists also, who actually come up with some very interesting pop music, rock music, and alternative music as well. Now, ironically, um, so the question is very simple. If you see the post-Cold War times, the times when things started to change and countries were formed, and Ukrainian and other music started to democratized all over the world, uh, people from Lithuania, your country, Serbia, Czech Republic, and many others came up with such kind of music where I see when I hear your music, it seems to be more of a better continuation than before. Not in a sense of comparison, but in a sense that it is very unique in its own way. So if you see the very legacy of Eastern European artists and Ukrainian artists, whether it is when it comes to alternative rock, because of course your genre is alternative rock, how do you see the current stream which has come up for artists in Ukraine, artists in Eastern European countries? What do you think of that?
Um, well, first of all, I think that I mean, the music is like the whole culture, and the music is like a representation of our everyday lives. So what we feel, what we do, what we fear, and everything else. So I think our Ukrainian and Eastern European music scene had great changes over the past 20 or even 30 years for many reasons, like political, cultural, economical, and so on and so on and so on. But in Ukraine, a lot of new interesting artists and bands have emerged since our revolution of dignity in 2013 2014. So many bands started to look at Ukrainian folk music in a new way, started to combine Ukrainian traditional music with other styles. But I mean, those whole changes, I don't think they have to do something with playing, folk music or pop music or alternative music or anything else, because it's more about this I mean, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, it was something new for us. So it was more freedom, more ways to make music, more ways to show it to the world, to the people. And uh, it's I think it's more about not being like copies of European or American bands and artists, but instead to create something new and something unique. Yeah. Because 20 years ago, we had a lot of music coming to us from Europe, from Asia, from America, and for us, it was like doing something from scratch. And I mean, you can do countless variations of mixing folk with electronic music or rock or you name it. But if it sounds like crap, nobody will listen to it. Uh, yeah, so I think the I mean, it's the quality of music that defines the music scene, not the quantity of artists. So I think, answering your question, I think the Eastern European and Ukrainian music scene have emerged a lot since, for the last 20 or 30 years. And we have a lot of new pop artists and niche artists and alternative artists, and all of them are trying to do something unique. And I think it's very good because it's when music is evolving and culture is evolving, it also affects our lives as ordinary people. Yeah. And it's like an evolution. And I think Ukraine is really good with making new music.
I agree. I definitely agree on that. In fact, if I may ask, both of you can try to. If I may ask, three best songs in the past 20 years, pop or rock from Eastern Europe, which you have loved the most, like in a sense. So, what would you choose? Top three.
Oh,
Both of you.
oh, I don't think I'm the only one who should answer that. Uh, Катя, питання зрозуміла чи не дуже?
Три кращих пісні англійською.
Ні, не англійською. Три найкращих пісні за останні 20 років з Східної Європи, от які найбільше сподобались. Не тільки з України, а в принципі.
I understand, yeah.
Yeah.
Начнеш?
Wow. Шум away.
Germany, it's East Europe. Um, I, mm, I think that it's Rammstein.
It's not
Uh,
Eastern Europe.
Not okay.
It's Germany.
Royal Blood. A band. It's uh, I don't remember. Sorry.
Ні, мається на увазі з Східної Європи. Польща, Болгарія, Чехія,
Sooner.
Україна.
Значит,
Yeah.
maybe Subcarpati.
Oh, yeah. So actually, if it's possible not to name a song but a band instead. Uh, yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of interesting songs, but we are looking at it more like, so it can be just a one song band, but we're more interested in bands that continuously do interesting things. So for the past 20 years, and we're trying to look at the bands that not only doing the pop music but combine it with their own cultural heritage. So there's the band from Romania called Subcarpati.
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing pretty much the same thing as we do. But the difference is that they combine their traditional music with hip hop, not with electronic music. Yeah. Then we have this beautiful Ukrainian band called Daha Bracha.
Yeah.
So they also, yeah, that's one of our favorite bands. Actually, they make you know their representation of Ukrainian traditional music, but in their way. It's not like electronic style or something. It's difficult to name it somehow. You should hear that to name it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And maybe
uh,
Motorhead.
oh yeah, and there is another Ukrainian band called Motanka. So they're also, combining our traditional music, but with hard rock and metal. But they do it. I mean, when you see them live, it's something amazing because it's a four-piece band. There are four guys in the band. They all sing. They all play instruments, and they're very emotional. So, and I think you know it's always easy to talk about it, but you should hear it and see it to understand. So yeah, so I think those we can name those three bands as as bands that for us are quite unique for the past 20 years in the post-Soviet countries.
I really appreciate how you put it up, and of course, I would be really happy to hear the music, of course. So, to end this session, uh, a very frank question is: uh, will you be trying to come up for your tours in Asia, particularly like India, Japan, Singapore, or any Southeast Asian country? So, any plans on that?
It will be nice.
Well, yeah, it would be very nice. We would love to perform in Asia. And well, first of all, so in our music, again we combine our music, Ukrainian music, with electronic music. But in India, you have Goa trance. It's also a combination of electronic music with Indian traditional music and culture and so on. And in a way, it's similar. And well, actually, last time I've been to Asia, it inspired me to found the band Go Away. So who knows what will happen next time when we'll be there.
Мне кажется,
So
будет уместно рассказать твою историю.
no. Okay. So actually, there was a story. There was a story how I came up with the idea of mixing Ukrainian folklore with electronic music. So several like it was 10 years ago or something. It was during my trip to India. I was in Goa, and I happened to visit this like theater or something. So there was a performance. like musical theatrical performance about the meaning of life and everything, so quite philosophical. And there were musicians, and there was a girl that sang along with musicians, just some vocal melodies or something. And at one moment everything went silent, and the girl started to sing traditional Ukrainian folk song in India. And for me it was like the sign. So at that moment I thought like, okay, that's what I should do. So I was at the time I was thinking about combining electronic music with something, but I hadn't decided yet with what exactly. And that was the defining moment for me to understand that we should do this. So, and if it's possible for us to come and perform to Asia, to India, to Japan, or anywhere else in Asia, I even can hardly imagine what inspiration can we get from there, because it's like a huge inspiration in Asian culture and people and everything else. So we would love to perform in Asia, and we're looking forward to it.
Of course, I mean, I would also try to visit, and of course, it would be a pleasure to meet. And of course, I must say, because I think your performances are a very good inspiration, even from India and Asia, because in the sense that there are few artists who we see not in the mainstream, but who are emerging, who actually are coming up with such kind of music. So uh, I think this is that's also one of the reasons why I thought let's have a chat on this and let's discuss much. So with this pretty short, pretty quick episode of Indus Think, we are coming up with a conclusion. I would like to thank Alina and the Goa team for coming up for the interview uh, on a long notice, I must say. So let's hope to have more discussions. And uh, as your new album comes in, new single comes in, whenever it comes, I would be very happy to interview you in future. And of course, if I visit Europe, of course, I hope that your concert's happening. Or yeah, if I visit Ukraine, of course, would be happy to meet. But yeah, I think we had really a very interesting discussion. So I would thank the band as well as Alina for the cooperation, and
Thank you
viewers
so
who
much.
will be being
Thank you.
watching. Definitely, definitely. So viewers who are being watching us, uh, I hope you must have had a very interesting experience about music and how music and emotions are understood in a different way. In fact, uh, I have a lot to say on that, but I'll do it afterwards. So, with this, with this, we conclude the 13th episode of Indus Think. As we will be coming up with some new content in the coming weeks, please do wait. And this is the beginning of the discussions for on folk music and others. We will be coming out with discussions with other artists as well. Let's hope that some productive discussions come in. So again, thank you, team. Thank you, Alina. And
Thank you.
I must say, get